Did you know that over 500,000 migrants might be forced to leave Australia by 2026? That's not a wild prediction. It's a growing fear backed by new immigration rules that are already shaking up lives across the country. From international students to skilled workers, thousands who once dreamed of building a future in Australia are now facing unexpected roadblocks, tighter rules, and skyrocketing visa costs. And here's the kicker. Many don't even realize what's coming. So what's really happening? Why are people being told they might have to pack up and go, even after years of living, working, or studying in Australia? In this video, we're revealing 10 powerful reasons why leaving Australia before 2026 might be the smartest move for some. And trust me, reason number 9 will shock you. Stick around till the end, because what you don't know could change everything. Number 10. Pathway to PR is no longer guaranteed. For years, the dream for many migrants was simple. Study in Australia, get a job, earn local experience, and eventually secure permanent residency. But today, that pathway, once seen as clear and achievable, is rapidly disappearing. The Australian government has tightened its immigration policies, quietly but significantly shifting the rules around who qualifies for permanent residency. Even those who've studied for years, followed all the steps, and spent tens of thousands of dollars on education and visa fees are finding themselves stuck in a cycle of temporary visas, with no clear end in sight. So what's changed? For starters, points requirements have increased, especially for age, English language skills, and relevant work experience. The occupations in demand are constantly shifting, and unless your profession lands on a specific list, you might not qualify at all, even with an Australian degree. Worse yet, there's no longer a guaranteed transition from the temporary graduate visa to permanent residency. This has left many highly skilled and educated migrants feeling lost and betrayed. Imagine investing your youth, your savings, and your energy into building a future in Australia, only to be told years later that you don't meet the criteria anymore. It's a harsh reality that many are facing right now. This is why more and more people are starting to ask the hard question. Is it smarter to leave now and restart somewhere else, before the rules change again? Backhand index pointing right if you're on a student, graduate, or temporary skilled visa. It's time to reevaluate your strategy. Don't wait until it's too late. Was this your original plan when you came to Australia? Let us know in the comments. And if this hit close to home, give this video a like and subscribe for more vital updates. Number 9. Growing political pressure against immigration. In recent years, Australia's political climate has started to shift dramatically, and immigration is now at the center of a heated national debate. What was once seen as a driving force for economic growth is increasingly being portrayed as a problem to be controlled. Politicians from both major parties are under intense pressure to reduce the number of migrants entering and staying in the country, especially after concerns about housing shortages, job competition, and infrastructure strain have grown louder. This political tension has already started to influence immigration policies. The government has introduced stricter visa criteria, smaller quotas, and slower processing times, all designed to cut overall migration numbers. As election seasons approach, the rhetoric becomes even tougher. Public opinion polls show that many Australians now support reducing migration levels, pushing leaders to respond with policies that make it harder to obtain permanent residency or extend temporary visas. The problem is, these changes aren't just theoretical, they're already affecting real people. International students, skilled workers, and even families who have lived in Australia for years are finding themselves caught in a system that's becoming increasingly unpredictable. Each new government review or policy announcement could mean another setback, delay, or rejection. And the most unsettling part? The direction of immigration policy now depends less on skill shortages or economic needs, and more on political convenience. Migrants who plan their entire future around Australia's old immigration structure are discovering that the rules can change overnight, depending on what's popular in the polls. Number 8. Regional visa challenges. On paper, regional visas are presented as a golden opportunity, a way for migrants to gain work experience, contribute to less populated areas, and eventually qualify for permanent residency. But the reality for many is far from ideal. While the government has increased its push for migrants to live and work in regional Australia, the actual living conditions and employment opportunities in these areas can be extremely limited. Many migrants are drawn in by the promise of a faster pathway to PR, only to find themselves in small towns with few job prospects, especially in their fields of expertise. Highly educated professionals, engineers, IT specialists, accountants, are forced to take on low-paying jobs in hospitality or manual labor just to meet visa conditions. For some, it's a massive step backwards, both in terms of career and lifestyle. Moreover, support services in regional areas are often lacking. Access to quality healthcare, education, and even public transport can be vastly inferior compared to major cities. Social isolation is another common issue, especially for migrants with young families or those who don't have strong community ties. The mental and emotional toll can be significant, particularly when paired with the constant pressure to meet visa requirements. What's more concerning is the fact that living in a regional area doesn't automatically lead to permanent residency. Rules around employment type, salary thresholds, and contract lengths can still disqualify applicants, even after they've lived years in difficult conditions. And if they move before the required time is up, their entire PR application can be voided. In the end, many find themselves stuck, unable to leave without risking their future, yet struggling to build a meaningful life where they are. For these migrants, the regional visa promise often turns into a harsh compromise. Number 7. Stricter compliance monitoring. One of the most alarming changes in Australia's immigration landscape is the increased level of surveillance and compliance enforcement placed on visa holders. What was once a relatively flexible system is now becoming tightly monitored, with even minor infractions leading to serious consequences, including visa cancellations or future bans from reapplying. Temporary visa holders, especially international students and skilled workers, are now subject to intense scrutiny over their work hours, course attendance, and even their living arrangements. For instance, international students must adhere strictly to their enrolled courses and are often monitored to ensure full-time attendance. If a student changes programs, drops a unit, or falls behind, they could unknowingly be violating their visa conditions. Workplace compliance is just as strict. Many temporary workers face limitations on how many hours they can legally work. And while those limits may seem manageable, a simple misunderstanding or minor overstep can trigger a red flag. The government has ramped up audits and employer checks, meaning both workers and businesses are under the microscope. If your employer fails to follow immigration laws, it's not just them who gets penalized. Your visa could be at risk too. Additionally, any change in personal circumstances, such as moving house, switching jobs, or even getting married, often requires notifying immigration authorities. Failure to do so within the required time frame can lead to compliance breaches. These aren't just rules on paper. Immigration departments now use data sharing between agencies and automated systems to flag inconsistencies. Number 6. Rise of the skills in demand list. Australia's immigration system has long been tied to its economic needs, but the introduction and growing influence of the skills in demand list has created a new layer of complexity and confusion for migrants. This list, designed to highlight specific occupations that Australia needs most, now plays a central role in determining who gets approved for visas and who doesn't. At first glance, it seems logical. Bring in workers where there are shortages. But the reality is far more unpredictable and unstable. The list changes frequently, sometimes multiple times in a year, based on shifting market conditions, political priorities, and economic forecasts. A job role that is in high demand today could easily be removed from the list tomorrow, leaving thousands of hopeful migrants in limbo. What makes this even more frustrating is that many people invest years into building a career path in Australia, only to find out too late that their occupation no longer qualifies. International students choose courses based on current trends, expecting to move into a skilled migration pathway. But by the time they graduate, the demand for that occupation may have disappeared. Even skilled workers already in Australia are affected. They may be contributing to the economy, working full-time, and filling genuine needs. Yet if their job is no longer on the list, they suddenly become ineligible for permanent residency. There is no guarantee of continuity and no security for long-term plans. This constant shifting has created a climate of deep uncertainty, where people can't confidently plan their future. Instead of being rewarded for their skills, many are now at the mercy of a list that changes behind closed doors, with little transparency and even less accountability. For countless migrants, the rise of the skills in demand list has turned their Australian dream into a game of chance and risk. Number 5. Reduced pathways for family visas. For many migrants, the dream of living in Australia isn't just about better job opportunities or quality of life. It's about building a future with their loved ones. But in recent years, family visa pathways have become increasingly limited, more expensive, and painfully slow, leaving countless families separated for months or even years. One of the biggest changes is the tightening of quota caps on family visas, particularly parent and partner visas. The demand for these visas has far outpaced the available spots, resulting in massive backlogs. In some cases, processing times now stretch beyond 5 to 10 years, especially for parent visas. Families are forced into long-distance relationships, missing out on key life moments, birthdays, weddings, even the birth of children. Additionally, the eligibility requirements have become stricter. Partner visa applicants must now prove not only the authenticity of their relationship but also meet stringent financial and character requirements. The documentation burden has increased, and a single mistake can cause costly delays or outright rejection. The financial strain is another major barrier. Visa application fees have risen sharply, with partner visas alone costing upwards of $8,000, not including legal or medical expenses. For many migrants, especially those still establishing themselves, this cost is simply out of reach. The emotional toll of these changes is profound. Families are being kept apart not because they don't meet the moral or social standards, but because of bureaucratic bottlenecks and shifting political priorities. Even those who follow all the rules and submit perfect applications find themselves trapped in uncertainty, with no clear timeline or promise of reunification. In a country that often promotes itself as diverse and family-friendly, the reality of Australia's current family visa system paints a very different and deeply heartbreaking picture. Number 4. Increased visa fees. One of the most immediate and painful changes many migrants are now facing in Australia is the sharp rise in visa application fees. In mid-2023, the Australian government implemented significant increases across various visa categories. And for many, the jump wasn't just steep, it was staggering. Some visa subclasses saw fee hikes of up to 40%, making the already expensive immigration process even more financially burdensome. Take, for example, the partner visa, which now costs more than $8,000, not including medical exams, translation services, or migration agent fees. Student visas, skilled migration applications, and even temporary work visas have also seen their fees go up, making it harder for everyday people to plan their future in Australia. For families or individuals trying to apply for permanent residency, the costs can easily balloon into the tens of thousands, especially if there are dependents involved. And these expenses don't even guarantee success. If your application is refused, the money is non-refundable, turning every application into a high-stakes gamble. These increasing fees are part of a broader strategy to offset the cost of processing and reduce the number of low-priority applications. But for most migrants, it feels like a harsh penalty simply for trying to do things the right way. Many are now being priced out of the system entirely, despite having valuable skills, Australian qualifications, or strong ties to the country. Worse still, the fee increases often come with little warning, leaving applicants scrambling to find extra funds before the changes take effect. For people living on tight budgets or still recovering from the financial impact of the pandemic, this sudden pressure can be devastating. Number 3. Rising cost of living. Australia has always been known for its high standard of living, but in recent years, that standard has come at an increasingly steep price. The cost of living across the country, especially in major cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, has surged to levels that are now forcing many migrants to rethink their long-term plans. According to recent data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, inflation has hit nearly every essential expense: rent, groceries, fuel, childcare, and utilities. In some areas, rent prices alone have risen by over 20% in just 1 year, while wages have remained largely stagnant. This growing gap between income and expenses is making it incredibly difficult for migrants, particularly those on temporary or student visas, to save money or support family members back home. International students, for example, are often juggling part-time jobs with full-time study just to cover basic expenses. Skilled workers on temporary visas may find that their income no longer stretches as far as it once did. Families with children are feeling the pressure of childcare fees, school costs, and rising grocery bills, all while trying to meet immigration requirements and visa renewal deadlines. For many migrants, Australia's high living costs now feel more like a burden than a benefit. When you factor in the uncertainty of visa status, the stress of meeting immigration compliance, and the difficulty of accessing public services due to visa restrictions, the overall quality of life can begin to deteriorate rapidly. Compared to other developed nations offering more affordable lifestyles, such as Canada, New Zealand, or some EU countries, Australia's financial pressure is becoming a key reason why many people are quietly packing up and leaving. The once promising dream of building a better future in Australia is being tested by every rising bill, every missed savings goal, and every rent increase. Number 2.
Temporary graduate visa overhaul.
For years, the temporary graduate visa, subclass 485, has been a vital stepping stone for international students hoping to transition from study to skilled work, and eventually to permanent residency in Australia. But recent overhauls to this visa stream have drastically changed the game, leaving many graduates uncertain, frustrated, and scrambling for options. One of the most significant changes is the shortening of post-study work rights. Previously, international graduates could stay in Australia for 2 to 4 years after completing their studies, depending on their qualification level. Now, under the new rules, many students, especially those with lower-level qualifications, will get far less time to find a job, gain experience, and qualify for skilled migration pathways. In addition, the age limit for applicants has been reduced from 50 to 35 years, cutting off opportunities for older students and career changers who invested in Australian education later in life. This change alone has disqualified thousands of potential applicants who would have otherwise contributed to Australia's workforce. The government has also introduced tighter English language requirements and is signaling an even more selective approach to which qualifications and fields of study will be eligible. Those graduating in areas not directly aligned with Australia's current skills needs may find no viable pathway forward, regardless of how long they've studied or how much they've spent. For many students, these changes feel like a betrayal. They arrived in Australia under one set of rules, only to have the goalposts moved halfway through their journey. With limited time, fewer opportunities, and higher barriers to stay, the temporary graduate visa, once seen as a bridge to permanent life in Australia, is now viewed by many as a temporary pause before an unwanted goodbye. Number 1. Stricter skilled visa requirements. One of the most impactful changes in Australia's immigration system is the introduction of stricter requirements for skilled visas, particularly under the General Skilled Migration (GSM) program. For years, skilled visas like the subclass 189, 190, and 491 have been key pathways for professionals hoping to secure permanent residency. But today, that path is more competitive and complex than ever before. The points-based system, which determines eligibility based on factors like age, English proficiency, work experience, qualifications, and occupation, has seen a silent yet significant tightening. In the past, applicants with 65 to 70 points had a reasonable chance of receiving an invitation. Now, in many cases, 85 points or higher are required to even be considered. This change alone has knocked thousands of hopeful migrants out of the running. Moreover, there's been an increased emphasis on Australian experience and a push to prioritize onshore applicants. Those applying from overseas or even recent graduates within the country are finding it incredibly difficult to score enough points or meet the selection thresholds. Even highly skilled professionals with years of experience are discovering they no longer meet the mark, particularly if their occupation is deemed low priority or has limited spots allocated. English language requirements have also been elevated, with higher scores now expected in tests like IELTS and PTE. A small difference in test performance could mean the loss of valuable points that could make or break an application. This shift reflects a broader move toward a more exclusive immigration model, where only the top tier of candidates are considered. It's creating a bottleneck where thousands of qualified, hardworking individuals are being left in limbo, despite having skills that could benefit the country. For many, the skilled migration system has transformed from a promising opportunity into an uphill battle filled with uncertainty and disappointment. Australia has long been seen as a land of opportunity, offering a high quality of life, strong economy, and a multicultural society that welcomes newcomers. But for many migrants today, that image is beginning to crack beneath the surface. With a wave of new immigration policies rolling out, the pathway to permanent residency is no longer as clear or as welcoming as it once was. From skyrocketing visa fees and a rising cost of living, to the uncertainty of temporary visas and shifting skilled occupation lists, migrants are facing a landscape that feels increasingly unstable. Even those who followed every rule, studied in Australia, worked hard, and contributed to the economy, are now being told they may not have a future here. And with political pressure mounting and compliance rules tightening, many are beginning to ask a difficult question. Is it time to leave Australia before 2026? The decision to stay or leave is deeply personal. For some, it may still be worth navigating the challenges in hopes of a better future. But for others, the risks, financial, emotional, and professional, may be too high to ignore. Countries like Canada, New Zealand, Portugal, or Germany are increasingly being seen as more stable alternatives with clearer migration pathways. What's clear is this: the dream of living in Australia now comes with more conditions, more uncertainty, and more cost than ever before. If you're currently living in Australia on a temporary visa, it's crucial to stay informed, assess your options, and plan ahead. Because in today's immigration climate, hoping for the best is no longer a strategy. Only those who are prepared will be able to move forward, whether that means staying or knowing when it's time to move on.